So hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's orchestrating, delegating, broadcasting, transcoding, or AI inference jobs. We're here to ask questions and get answers. We got a couple topics ahead of us. We're going to start off with kind of like a governance topic, which is around this year-long developer contract funded by the Treasury. So for those that don't know, I put out a post, a pre-proposal a few days ago outlining this concept of a year-long developer kind of funding for bringing in a long-term community developer who's been working on the Go Livepeer code and been quite outstanding in the development of Livepeer from a community side. And this would be a way to kind of reward or incentivize this developer to continue on with their work and just keep developing and improving the Livepeer code base. So the person that I proposed was actually Brad at Astra. He's here in chat, and it's pretty simple. It's this concept of, hey, for 12 months. Brad has proven himself. He knows the code. He's done lots of pull requests and contributions, and he has lots of ideas on how to keep improving. He's very self-directed. He comes from the community. He's not an outsider. He's an orchestrator as well. You know what? Why don't we give him an incentive to keep doing this and make it a bit more of an official thing, right? And so we kind of had an offline chat around time commitments and these kinds of things. And so, the proposal here, I can put it in the chat for those that haven't seen it yet. Yeah, it's simply just a 1-year contract with some time commitments around 15 hours a week, starting in April, ending in March. And the idea there would be an annual compensation from the Treasury. It'd be 8,000 LPT. This is just an arbitrary number we kind of just came up with, or I came up with. This is not set in stone. This is just, putting out there. It's a little arbitrary because the Livepeer Treasury has 157,000 LPT in it, and this is just a number. And the way it would work is, there's this payment frequency every month. The developer would get paid, and it would be through a series of smart contracts where every month it would unlock the funds of that month. And therefore, the developer doesn't get paid upfront a lump sum, but rather, every month they get released the funds gradually. And if for something were to happen, like the development would stop, or they've left the protocol, or they've decided to not continue on with development, we could have 3 guardians that could do a 2 of 3 multi-sig and return the funds back to the Treasury on the remaining amount of months left. Okay, and so this would then be completely on chain, completely directed, funded by the Treasury, directed by the Guardians, and we could hire our first community developer funded by the Treasury. Okay, a lot being said. I opened it up for feedback and comments, and we've had some good some people give their feedback. So I want to open it up now, real quick. Who would like to give their first impression of what they've seen and just some comments, and then we can dig into more of the specific topics brought up. But who would like to give their first initial feedback on the proposal?
I can go if nobody wants to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a great idea. I think getting some dedicated resources, fixing things on the protocol. I think that the question that I have is, surrounding the scope, right? Like, what are the types of things that he'll be working on? Like, is there a ready-made list of hit list items that, could be the targets, and that maybe there's some sort of, voting process that describes what the highest priorities are. I know everyone's talked about AV1, upgrading FFmpeg, and I know he's been focusing on that. Just what are your thoughts around the actual project workload and how the community might be able to influence what's prioritized?
Definitely. So I'll let Brad speak on that as well, but just from my proposal perspective, the idea was we're hiring someone who is already in the community and very self-directed. And so rather than putting up, red tape around what needs to be done and setting all these milestones, for all the things that are unknown, it's best to leave Brad to be productive on what he sees fit at the time. I know that can be like a little loose, but he's proven himself to work on high value things. So that was what I went with kind of initially. But Brad, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you might see your workflow working look like?
Yeah, I don't think I'm very opinionated on that matter. I think it would be just whatever is the most impactful or can help the most and where. I mean, right now I'm in FFmpeg and stuff, so I'd probably stay there. As it goes forward, it would probably be something along the lines of helping with the AI stuff or those pipelines and getting those integrated. Um, but beyond that, I I'm willing to help where help is needed.
I also want to emphasize that this is not like people want to make this out like it's a traditional employment contract where you have direction from a senior person, you have tasks, you have compensation, and you have this agreement. I think this is more like Brad has proven himself that he is self-directed and a good community person for continuing his development. Why don't we just have the treasury fund him for having him keep doing what he's already doing, right? Because we did the retroactive funding that Pawn had proposed, I believe, last year, which was amazing, right? We gave 4 outstanding community developers retroactive funds. That's wonderful, and I think that was very positive. But maybe we can do that on a more ongoing basis, where we say, hey, look, here's an outstanding community member. They're self-directed. They know what's important. Let's just fund them for them to keep going. And so it's not like a set out milestone. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe we do want more guidance. But the problem is when it's coming from a decentralized treasury, it becomes very hard to do that. And so, yeah, Brad has proven himself to work on high value things. So let's just support him in keeping going, right?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to make it like an employment agreement. I really was just curious to say, you know, I'm sure he's going to pick high priority items. I just didn't know if there was a way that folks in the community, as you know, I think we've all seen, we have some weird CUDA errors popping up. There's probably some things that could be cleaned up, across the code base, some more modernization, some streamlining on the DevOps. I'm not saying he needs to do those things, but it'd be cool if we had a way to kind of, maybe put some stuff on the pile so that he can pick and choose the items that he wants to work on. So just overall curious about how that might look. But I think you guys answered it. He's going to focus on what he wants, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, Brad is not an outside developer. He's not a hired gun coming in from some different background where he needs guidance. Brad is a part of the community. He's a unique person. We don't have many people like Brad who can come in and be self-directed. So I think this is that type of role where we are simply compensating someone to just keep going, keep doing what you're doing because it's positive, right?
I was gonna jump in and say I think anyone who's been here for a while and paying attention would realize is how lucky we are to have Brad contributing his time developing on Go Livepeer, building tools for the orchestrator community, the video users, etc. So totally in support of finding the right way to ensure Brad's comfortable making, time commitment to be able to continue doing that. I think a lot of the feedback and questions you're getting on the proposal are just about, the amount of capital, the governance over that capital. I think those are fair, good questions. There's probably easy solutions to those sorts of things. I also don't think these things always need to be totally over engineered. There just needs to be sort of a sane system of checks and balances. I think, like you said, it's not like Brad is joining the team and reporting to someone on a known set of tasks. I think that's totally fine because, as you said, Brad's totally self-directed and communicates well to the community what he's working on. But I do think that there's going to be new challenges just around coordination and keeping the code base sane and consistent and moving forward in a direction where there can always be releases, because we're going to have this new community developer. We're going to have the AI SPE. We're building AI capabilities into the node. We've got the studio team iterating on the transcoding capabilities. And who knows what else comes down the pipe as well. And so I think it probably will be time to set up some sort of core developer process or meeting or roadmap sync or whatnot, so all these things can be integrated in a way that keep Go LivePeer a good usable piece of software for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. That's great feedback, and I'm curious just to. I like the concept of like this is a little. It's not the same as being employed. This is a community-driven, community-led thing to compensate someone for their past and future efforts to continue on doing what they're doing. So yeah, and then in coordinating with Livepeer Inc. and other core developers, I think keeping things sane is going to be interesting. But I also think Brad has proven that he has that ability. He has merged code updates into Go Livepeer and has proven that he can work with other people on maintaining a good code base. So again, like we're not hiring. We're not bringing in someone who's a hired gun out of nowhere, and we got to see how this all works. Brad has been in this community for 3 years. He's built many tools, and he knows. He's just been here a long time, right? So, and he was here long before the treasury was ever here. So he's just been working off the incentive of LPT rewards off his own node, right? Which is great. But I think we can further incentivize and reward for those efforts. So
yeah, honestly, I do love this idea. I think we could introduce a couple of more people as well, if we need it. Honestly, talking about Brad, he doesn't even sleep, so he's the best candidate. He's gonna spend way more than 15 hours a week. I know that for a fact.
yeah, as for other candidates, I've actually reached out to other people that might be like just in conversation, like, would you be interested? But again, this comes down to like, this is not full-time employment with a company. This is some sort of side commitment, and a lot of people already have full-time jobs. And what I don't want to have happen is people to think that they should quit their job in order to pursue this. I would rather this become a part-time or casual thing, and they maintain their daily lives as they see necessary. So, when I first reached out to Brad, I said, "Hey, are you available for a 40-hour-a-week commitment?" And he was like, "What? Like no, like that's probably not feasible." And so I said, okay, yeah, what if it's a casual position? And Brad, you can speak up about this, but yeah, the idea is this is a casual or part-time position to encourage people to keep working on this on their weekends and evenings, as they kind of already are, right? Brad, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm taking it the next step is that I am creating changes to make more time, not just on weekends and nights for this. But I think you're right, though. I think it's just a way to keep incentivize people. Maybe not just me. Maybe I'm just the first. Hopefully, I am just the first to be able to work on and improve. Livepeer, the protocol, Go Livepeer, anything in the stack from start to finish.
Yeah, that was actually gonna be one of my questions or points of feedback is like, would you think about making the proposal a little more ambitious in terms of maybe phrasing this as like the first milestone or the first grant out of a a core development unit or an SPE, if you will, right? Because you're already putting the governance of a mini SPE in place. Like just basically it's a multi-sig with governors who can make sure that those who are having funds released are meeting their commitments and not slacking off or whatnot. But when I think about the decentralization of the project, you don't want necessarily just like one company, Livepeer Studio, being the only sort of core development entity in the ecosystem. You want other Go Livepeer maintainers and Catalyst contributors and builders and of tooling and whatnot. And so this could be a nice starting point to expand rather than just have it be tied to like one token released to one individual.
Yeah, definitely. I like the idea of beta testing. If you ever try something new, I always believe in starting small. And, if you've got something good, you can always ramp it up. But I do believe in like over-engineering and over-investing on first-round things can be quite catastrophic if you're wrong with assumptions. So, yeah, the idea behind this is, let's start off with a casual position with someone who's well respected and let's try it out. And hey, if it works really well, we can keep refining and building upon that base. So that is kind of the idea behind it. There's nothing saying we can't start building these into more ambitious and structured roles, but I don't think starting out with an ambitious structured role is the way to go. I think it's best to start with a role and massage it and see where it goes and what works well and what doesn't, and then kind of continue on from there. And Brad is the lucky fella to get thrown to the fire, the first one.
I don't think that fire's burned too hot. I'm willing to be the guinea pig and see how this goes.
Definitely.
There's a lot of feedback on the amount, but also just like LPT versus USD, this sort of thing. I don't know if like Brad had a preference or spoke up on that.
When me and Titan talked about it, we didn't really have a way of figuring out what it should be, the LPT, because it could go 0 to 100, 100% up, 0, 100% down over that year. Like tying it to USD makes that a lot easier, but it's more complex to get set up at the start. I was not advocating for 8,000 total, but I think we needed to throw something out there that was high enough to get people talking and start of like the negotiation, I guess.
Yeah, I'd like to speak on this concept of USD pegging. And hey, honey, hey. Say hi. So I'd like to talk about this concept of USD pegging because, it's been brought up like 8K LPT is a lot based on current prices, but LPT becomes super volatile and can go up or down, and so there's a couple items I wanted to bring up. One was LPT is not a payment like a traditional contract. Again, like this, I don't think this should be viewed as traditional traditional employment. Just like running a node isn't like traditional employment either. You're getting rewarded with ownership in the network when you run a node or when you become a delegator. Honey, sorry, my daughter's like in my office and she's got a cold. So very nice. So I would say that like LPT is ownership in the network, right? It's not US dollars. It's like the treasury has no concept of US dollars. It has no concept of price. It only gains a portion of inflation. And inflation is an incentive through ownership. So the more ownership you have, the more you contribute into the network, you should equal more ownership in the network. Okay? And so what does that ownership equal to in US dollar terms? Well, does it really matter, right? Like if you work in a network and you gain ownership and that ownership becomes really valuable for the thing you've built, then you deserve all the rewards that go with that, right? So, so the first topic was around like LPT versus pegged USD. I think pegging to USD is maybe not in the spirit of what the Treasury hopes to do because it understands only LPT. The second question becomes like, how? So, like, it's easy to say, hey, let's peg this to USD, but like, okay, I have yet to see someone bring forward an example of how that actually gets done. I have a proposal for a split contract, and then I have a developer right now building a time-released contract. So the ERC20 token is held until a certain block. Once that block is passed, you can release the funds. Okay, that's easy. Okay, if we're pegging it to USD, does that smart contract now need to have an oracle? How do you manage if the price of LPT goes down? Do we have to go back to the Treasury and ask for more funds? Or do you overfund the split contract to make up for a 90% loss? And then what are the risk implications of having a 10x greater LPT locked than a smart contract for a year for one employee? Like it gets pretty deep on like how you actually accomplish pegging something to USD in a decentralized manner. And then the third one is actually around taxes. I don't live in the US, but from my understanding, when you have something in writing saying you're getting compensated for USD, I believe the IRS cares about that, and they care about it from not only the person that is receiving the USD, but also the person sending the USD. So that is just something that I don't know about and would rather not get involved with. If the compensation on the agreement is in LPT, that is an arbitrary ownership token in the network, which makes things pretty clear and easy. So, those are just my three thoughts on the topic around it. I'd love some feedback on this USD pegging idea.
Happy to throw my hat in the ring here. I first want to say I'm all for this proposal. I think it's a great idea. I also want to echo some of the sentiments that Titan said about Brad's performance thus far and letting him work on what he finds important and interesting. As an engineer myself, I think that's a great way to go with this. And kind of with respect to USD pegging, if you take this kind of in the perspective of LPT being somewhere between RSUs and stock options, and not uncommon for a startup to offer the vast majority of the compensation in stock options, which may be worth nothing. And so part-time for something that could ostensibly not go to nothing, but very little, I think this really seems like an equitable situation for everyone, Treasury and Brad and the community.
Stock options are pretty common amongst these type of situations, and I think they directly in line with the performance of the individual and the success of the project. So yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, LPT was designed this way, right? As a bootstrapping mechanism and a way of ownership. So Marco says you could have an SPE create a payout proposal like Pon made earlier on a quarterly basis. Marco, what do you mean by that? An SPE, like would this SPE hold the funds and then do payouts quarterly, or like how would that work?
I think I was typing something, but I think it matches maybe where Marco's going with this, which is, over the years, I've obviously worked with people who have all different preferences, like fiat preferences, LPT preferences, wanting a split, wanting short-term incentives, long-term incentives, et cetera. Like one thing that I've sort of observed is that it's easier to reason about the LPT amounts and feel good about them over short periods of time than long periods of time because of the volatility. Like I think this was brought up if your compensation is an LPT and it's over a long period of time, like a year, and the value goes down a lot, whether you think this is likely or not, the person might be demotivated or just say, hey, this isn't worth it. And then on the other hand, you see this where if the price goes up a lot, all of a sudden everyone starts questioning, oh wow, like they're being compensated so much. Is it fair? What are they producing? And there's like unrealistic expectations on them. Whereas if you look at it over shorter periods of time, like here's a block of LPT for the next quarter, and then in the following quarter, you sort of readjust how much LPT there should be based on its current range, then you sort of end up in a more, I don't know, what feels like equitable range in these shorter blocks of time without having to do it every, peg to the dollar every week or every month or something like that. So, I don't think there's anything wrong with the proposal as it stands, but that's just something I've observed over the years. It might be along the lines of what Marco was getting at.
Yeah. I also wanted to just emphasize there was another comment around treasury funds, how we could, like if we pegged it to USD and it went up twice as much, then we could hire twice as many developers. And to that I say, like the Livepeer treasury earns 1,000 LPT a day. So like by time we even comment on this proposal, that's literally 8,000 LPT, which is the entire year-long contract that we're talking about. Right now we have 157,000 LPT in the treasury, which would hire in 6 months it'll have again another 157,000. So if you were to pay developers 8,000 LPT in a year, you could actually hire 39 developers right now, like as it stands, to work on Livepeer from the treasury, and it could afford it. But like we don't have 39 qualified community developers to build on this. Like right now we have a handful, and this is the first one that we're going to go with. So I just think like for the sake of saving a few thousand LPT in the treasury, like, it's a lot of engineering work to save a few thousand LPT if the price were to go up. But like Rick said, is a double-edged sword. So, yeah, I just want to make it clear, like the treasury can handle this funding right now.
I don't see, a lot of treasury proposals going in, and I think, any chance we can get to keep the product moving forward, providing, just the code base itself has to be updated periodically to keep it free of security vulnerabilities and, all kinds of software related issues. So, at a minimum, I think there should be more people proposing these kinds of projects. I think, and we shouldn't be worried about some of the minutia around the LPT price and the quantities. I mean, obviously we want fair value for services rendered, right? We want to make sure it's worthwhile on all fronts. But, I think it gets kind of muddled when we start, trying to pin people down when prices go up, and it's not really helpful. We want an open platform so that people can continue to build here and want to build here. So I think it's good scrutiny, and I'm not criticizing anybody. I think, everyone has their opinion, but I think we need more projects, more proposals. We really want to put a dent in the treasury. You say, Titan?
Yeah, I mean, why are we hiring one? Why are we not hiring 5? Why are we not hiring 10? I mean, we could hire 10 developers to work this on at this current price, and it would make a small dent in the treasury, right?
Yeah.
So maybe 8,000 LPT will set a precedent like, hey, this is interesting to me. Maybe I should put up my hand and want to join the effort too. Instead of, well, my compensation really is not much better than my job. You know, seems like a lot of risk for like not as much upside. And the treasury just inflates to, let's see, what is it at currently right now? When I made the proposal, the treasury in USD terms had 3.6 million in it. Since those 3 days, it's down 600,000, so it's to 3 million right now, right? Like, let's spend it on people building on the network, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Doug said in the beginning, though, where, maybe a little bit more ambitious of a goal for an SPE would be, to try to get build a team of 3 or 5 people that are like, maybe they are full time working on it. Then you could actually spend some more money and get, not saying you have to do that, but I think it would be great if Brad's the test dummy, if we could get a second or a third person in that collective working, I think it really becomes, significant strides to moving the product forward. I definitely say, AV1, FFmpeg upgrades, there are some other ideas that I had myself, and I'd love to jump in on that collective. But with the work I have now with the current SPE, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But I would, man. How many people do you know? I mean, if I had some friends that I knew that I could get together and they would be willing to take some of these risks, I'd absolutely try to get them involved. And good developers, lots of history, lots of skill sets. I would love to see a team of 5 that is outside of studio, moving the product forward, at least influencing it.
Hey.
Yeah, I think the idea of like an SPE is great, but it also takes a huge amount of coordination. Like,
oh yes,
like like, talk about over engineering. Like I'm running the I'm helping build the Livepeer Innovators DAO, and like that just takes an insane amount of time to do anything, right? And even the payment structure of taking the money out of the treasury, like how complicated does that need to be? So anyway, I tried to make it so that the proposal to hire a community developer is simple enough that Titan can do it, right? Because I'm not an engineer, I'm hardly a programmer, but I understand. Hey, I understand time locked smart contracts. Okay, I'll have someone build that, and I understand the split contract. Okay, so just dealing with an ERC20, right? No oracles, no math, no function, no. It's just a split contract into 12 individual time lock contracts with the ability to revert it with a 2 or 3 multisig. It's pretty simple. I can handle it. It's easy to convey. It's transparent. It's and it comes directly from the treasury.
Hi, Titan. Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say one thing to Brad. What is the appropriate number of LPTs for you to do it? Because I don't want this proposal to get rejected. This is very good for the project as a whole. But there's a lot of votes that we are not hearing from right now. And what's the minimum number of LPTs that you're willing to do this, so that we are maybe increasing the probability that it's not going to get rejected? Like, I don't know if you ever thought about it.
I understand what you're saying. I have, and it becomes a question of like, what's the discount factor here?
Yeah.
Am I basing this off of 8, 14? Like, it's high right now, but it wasn't this high even 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
And right now, like
opinion,
the USD value of it is, it's bloated and inflated. But we all know that could be a roller coaster, as you said, to 100, or it could go back down to 6, 7, 8, where it sat for a long time. And that amount of LPT at like $7 an LPT is like mid 50,000s or something like that. So I don't know that I have like a hard number. I wish I did to give you an answer, but it's a time value of money and the risk tied to that going up and down. And that, like, thinking of it like stock options is probably one of the best ways to think about it, because it's tied to a value at like grant date, but that can go anywhere from there, and it's not usually the sole
You know what?
compensation.
Could you maybe think about this and maybe modify the proposal with the number that you come up with, and then we'll make sure that it's not rejected. Maybe if you could make a discount, as you said, and then modify the proposal like that. And so, yeah, because this is
Now, if
this.
we want to do this for like just a shorter period of time on this one, I'm not overly against that. But I think Titan just wanted to give, and like I said, it doesn't have to be just me. Give the developer a runway to work. Because if you have a 3-month commitment from somebody, eventually that's going to start impacting what they can and what they can work on and what they're willing to pick up, if that makes sense.
I also
Yeah, don't underestimate that. Brad made a comment before. He's like making some changes in his, I don't know, professional life or with his time commitments to be sure that he can take this on. And like that's not to be taken lightly. Like if someone's given a 1-month commitment, they're probably not, sacrificing other opportunities in order to do this. But with something that's 6 months, a year, they're more likely to do so. So don't forget that, everyone.
And also, like, my initial LPT was 10,000 LPT, and the reason was, I mean, you can only base this off of historical LPT prices. So the fairest thing to do would be, if you're going to do a year-long contract, then you have to base the LPT on the trailing year historical value. So, if you want to take the last 12 months and average it out, and then take the time commitment of the value of the last 12 months, because historically what you've seen is historically what's going to go forward. So, 10,000 LPT seemed like the right number to me. But it's really hard to talk about it when in the last 3 weeks LPT has gone up, or actually the last 30 days it's gone up 400%. So I just think like the best way to look at this is ownership in the network, not through wages from a traditional company. And if people think that, hey, that's a really good compensation, well then, hey, why don't you apply to come be a developer on the Livepeer network? Hey, maybe it's not just developers we need. Maybe it's all types of people we need on the network that could come in and give their resources. We need some sort of like, I don't know, managers on marketing, and maybe we could do some community-led marketing, or, that can be compensated with ownership. Why not, right? So I think this just opens up the idea that, hey, you could be compensated with ownership and it is worth your time. You should step up, right? So,
I understand, but what if it gets rejected? Like we're not hearing from many of the votes right now, and so what I'm trying to do is like to try to guarantee that it's going to get accepted.
There's no guarantee for acceptance, but if it gets rejected, they can come back to the drawing board and try again. There's no, a failed proposal doesn't mean a dead project. It just means maybe there were key points that, people were given feedback they didn't hear. I think you can't go on to the assumption that it's going to get rejected, continue to reduce the value. I think it's not the dollar amount that matters. It's the value to the network. I mean, a person, like Doug said, making a sacrifice in his life to bring his passion to the table, it's not dollars that we're worried about. We know we're going to get high value, high quality stuff from Brad. And we've seen it in the past with everything he's done. So there's no reason to expect anything less. So I know when he signs up, I don't care what the amount is, we're going to get that and some in terms of value. And I think the value prop here is getting some of these projects that are, like the FFmpeg is one. As we've all been saying this for so long, the tech is moving past us, and we can get a lot of value out of something like that for the transcoding network. The value is where we want to focus on. What are we gonna, what is he gonna bring to the table, and what are we gonna get as a benefit from it? And I think every time you look at it, it's gonna far outweigh, the little bit of LPT that's gonna be asked here. Yeah, would it make it? It may not make it pass if you reduce the amount, right? It still may not pass. So I think we just focus on the value. I know the dollar amounts, can get important, but this is really a drop in a bucket when you look at the treasury and the types of projects we really want. If we can make it attractive and feasible for folks to get on board and do the development, we want as much value as we get, and we'll pay through the nose for that value as long as we're getting value.
I will say, also, when it comes to like this proposal getting shot down or not passing, like this is not like an election where when you lose, it's over for the next 4 years, right? This is, if it doesn't pass, we'll just send another one with some slight modifications, and if that one doesn't pass, then we send another one with some more slight modifications. And if the only downside is we clog up the treasury voting page with a bunch of defeated proposals, like whoop-de-doo, right? Like, just like do it until you get it right is how I see it. So like, if it doesn't pass on the first time, that's fine. I don't think that's actually a big deal. Cool. Okay. Yeah, we've been talking this for about an hour. Do we want any last comments on this proposal, or your thoughts?
I just want to add that I really like this proposal. I think this is a great opportunity to get some muscle behind community engagement, and to decentralize development around the decentralized treasury. I think it's a really exciting opportunity. One question I had about roles would be like, in this type of capacity, would Brad or someone working in this role be able to act as a maintainer in the GitHub space, or because today we kind of just fork branches and submit PRs and that kind of thing. Would there be a role for reviewing pull requests and things like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's the sort of thing I was thinking about when I said there needs to be like a newly coordinated process for collaboration between community developer, AI SPE, like studio core developers, because it's totally reasonable that sort of reviewer permissions and direct commit permissions and stuff on the repo would be granted. I don't want to like give an answer or speak in this case without the actual engineers on the team weighing in, but yeah, I think they should come together to coordinate to figure out answers to those.
Cool. And congratulations, Brad. I think it's a great opportunity. I'm glad to see the project decentralized like this.
Thank you, John. And I'm open to about anything. Not opinionated in that matter.
Yeah, and like I said, if anyone else wants to have this opportunity, like, please reach out, and we can get the balls rolling on this treasury funds. Like, it's 1,000 LPT a day that the treasury can spend on development. So let's use it. I think the tragedy would be to not use it and have the treasury cap out, and then we have all these resources and no way to place it. So
Yeah, I mean each one of them is very valuable though. I'm getting the feeling that you guys are thinking it like, oh, we're accumulating a lot of LPT every day, we can spend it, right? Like, it's not like that though, because those LPTs could have been used to to even further lower the price of orchestrators, right? I mean, they were supposed to go to orchestrators to lower their price, right? So we are accumulating these LP to go into good work. And I'm sure, I mean, bread is the best place to go. I understand that. But I mean, we still have to evaluate some stuff, like the amount. That's what I'm saying.
LPT doesn't go to orchestrators to lower their prices. LPT goes to give ownership to the network, right? Like in a decentralized network, we want to distribute ownership to the people who deserve it.
Yeah, but they also go to orchestrators to lower their price because they are not earning as much Ether as they should. So the clients pay lower prices because of the LPT compensation to the orchestrators. That's how you guys are lowering your prices, right?
Well, I don't sell any of my LPT, so it doesn't go to lower my price. Because I don't view, like, I just don't know why I would sell my ownership in the network. The benefit of LPT is that we give ownership to people who contribute. So, like, why would I sell my ownership? I would rather keep it and then let the free market decide what the price is, right?
Yeah, the general logic of the network is such that the Ether prices are so low because the network is making up for it with LPT.
I think some people
that's
are.
how it goes. Yeah, most people are though.
I feel like that's an emergent property that's happened and not how it was designed. LPT was designed to bootstrap nodes.
Osman, you said most people, but I don't believe that.
My point is, like, please don't see LPT in the treasury like, we are accumulating a lot, so we can spend some of it. Yes, of course. Yeah, but each of them is still valuable. Like, it's the token is valuable. I mean, bread is, as I said, the best place to go for the token. I know, but we still have to evaluate some stuff with the upcoming proposals. That's what I'm saying.
So what would you like to see happen, Osman?
Like, if you could give, I mean, Brad was ready to lower his fees, but you wouldn't let him, actually. I mean, I got the feeling that he was ready to, make some adjustments, but that's okay. I mean,
so you'd rather compensate him less?
If we're going to adjust, I propose we bring it back to what Titan originally said of 10,000, and we vote on it. I think that's perfectly what the voting system is for. We disagree, but I think that the voting system will resolve that.
Yeah, I would like to see it higher, personally.
All right.
Yeah, I think this is the opportunity that we have to, create value for the network, and to, because there's only so many people at Livepeer Inc. and the orchestrators and everyone in the community is always got a pulse on the ecosystem and what customers need and what type of traffic we're seeing and where the needs are. This is a great opportunity to, actually think about what we need and then put forward a proposal, much like the SPEs that we have. But in this case, something that's more a maintainer kind of role, I think. I think it's what we really need.
Yeah, the only logical thing I can come up with when it comes to, like, determining the amount of LPT to reward someone is something like, what should someone be offered what percentage of the company should a key player be given of the company if it does well, right? Like, is it 0.5% of the total company? Is it 0.05%? Is it 0.005%? Like, to what degree, what percentage of ownership should they get? And then from there, you just reverse engineer. Well, if you have this many shares, then they get this much ownership. And that's how you traditionally figure it out, from my understanding, is you give 10% away of the company to stock options to key executives. Okay, well, you have 10 executives, so each of those get 1% of the stock options. And that's it. That's how you come up with your number. If you did that in this case, you might find that the amount of LPT that a core developer might be given is quite a bit substantially more. So I just want to get away from the framing of, hey, the last person that traded Livepeer token on Binance was $19. Therefore, we should arbitrarily set the compensation in LPT terms to X, Y, or Z, right? I just think that's just too arbitrary. Just my opinion. But yeah, that might not get the full support of the community by offering like just insane amounts of LPT. So, but yeah, this is an interesting conversation. I'm glad to get some feedback. What I'll do is, like I said, if you have more comments, please throw them in the forum post. I'm going to look into this Superfluid app for managing the payments. I've heard of Superfluid before, but I never actually knew that this would be the use case for it. It looks like you can stream funds by the second for a whole year, so maybe that's the way to do it. So I'll have to see what kind of functions they have and what kind of product they have here for doing this. So cool. Okay. Before we move on to the other topics, any last comments that we hand off on this pre-proposal for the year-long community developer contract? Cool. Okay. I'd like to move on to. There's a couple of people that have joined us since we got going. Chase Media, did you? Your microphone wasn't working. Is it working now? Do you want to try and introduce yourself on the topic?
Thank you. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Great. It's Chase here with Chase Media. Been running the node for a few years. My topic was really around the AI hardware side of the new developments, and what we're planning on using and what level of product we're hoping to give to our customers.
Great. GPUs on Livepeer. Great topic. That'll be nice. That's a good topic. I like it. Thank you for joining us, Chase. Jonas, would you like to introduce yourself and a topic?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, all. My name is Jonas. I'm part of the Pixel Field Orchestrator. It's a group of friends. We're running the node from UK and England and been running it for a year and a half now. I haven't got any specific topics, but really look forward for any sort of updates about the AI and testing and how we're getting on with that. So, yeah, just here to listen in. Cheers.
Very good. Thank you for joining us. Varies, would you like to introduce yourself on a topic?
Hey all, I'm Virus. I've been running the orchestrator since like 5 years now. No specific topics.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is around AI inference jobs. So I've been working I've been following this closely with Yonded's work, doing the text to image, image to image, and image to video pipelines. I also created a script where we could do benchmarking, just like an automated way, and gather some feedback. And then lately, just last week, I started diving into low memory flags on how we could. Oh, sorry. Before I go any further, Papa Bear, I see you've joined us. You want to introduce yourself on a topic?
Sure. I am Papa Bear, running the Solar Farm Orchestrator for 2.5 to 3 years. I don't know exactly how long. I don't have any topic for the week, but I just wanted to chime in and just say that I think that proposal that was being talked about earlier, bringing Brad on as a developer, or I don't know the exact term, but is a great idea. And I think that the relatively small, network percentage that he would be receiving for this seems very reasonable, and I'm all for it. So I just wanted to put that in there, and yeah, that's it. Just here to listen.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so yeah, working with these pipelines, what I found was in the benchmarking, most GPUs under 16 gigs could not do the many image to image and image to. So almost all GPUs can do. Almost all GPUs under 8 gigs can do text to image. Fine. Now, as soon as you get image to image, you're going to need about 12 gigs. And if you're doing image to video, it ranges from 12 to 30 gigs. Okay. So when it goes up to 30 gigs, you basically have completely shut out all consumer grade GPUs. But sometimes you can get it down to 12, depending on the amount of tokens you're using and the granularity and quality of the video, which means you could get all the 24 gig cards, like the 3090 and the 4090, they can do it. And then the 16 gig cards, they could do it sometimes, depending. So what I started to mess around with was this, what was called sequential CPU offloading. And it's this flag that allows your CPU to take on a bunch of the compute for handling, I guess, the model, or like handling the transitions between different inferencing. I don't actually know how it works, but I tested it out and with some good results. So we're able to get image to video down to 8 gigabytes of RAM with that flag. And then if we do what's called forward chunking, then you can get it down to 4 gigs. So it looks like we can get image to video, being video is what we're focusing on in Livepeer. So that's going to be our biggest, you would think that's our biggest kind of pipeline, right? So image to video, we can get down to 4 gigs of RAM, which means you can do this on basically any consumer grade GPU, especially with 8 gigs of RAM, which they all do now, all the 40 series, and I think the 30 series do. So the only issue was just the time that it took. So it went from, 24 seconds to do image to video to, I think, 500 seconds. So it became, what is that, like 8 minutes? Something like this? Or no, not 500. 100 and, I have to look at my spreadsheet. I think it was 5 or 6 times longer in inference time. So a consumer grade GPU, low 8 gigs of RAM, could do the job, but it would took 5 to 6 times longer than a card that has the RAM on the machine. So the question just becomes like, are we willing to have our customers wait? Or do they care about time? Versus quality and speed and cost. So I put out a tweet asking people what they cared about the most. It was price versus speed versus quality, and people cared about speed the least. People cared about quality the most, and the price was right in the middle. So people care about quality a lot. So I'm thinking maybe we could get away with using these flags, really reducing the RAM, offloading a ton of it to the CPU. Yes, it takes 6, 7, 10 times longer, but we're getting, really high quality consumer or like professional grade stuff out there. So anyway, I'll pause there because I now went to go implement this into the pipeline, into Yonden's pipeline. And I completely broke Yonden's pipeline. He didn't actually pull it into his repo because he's very smart, and he read the docs and he went, "Hey, I don't think this is right." And I went, oh, let me actually test what I pulled, and it didn't work. So I was like, okay. And then I gave up because I got pretty tired of messing with Hugging Face pipelines. So I did some testing. I figured it out. I don't know. I haven't implemented it yet. But yeah, we'll go from there. Let's open up the conversation. Who's got comments around these AI job types and what they're seeing and what interests them? Or opinions?
Hi, Titan. Yeah, on just on a note of what you just said, I was curious about the level of precision that was coming from you using these different benchmarking. So you said it was really high quality end video product, was it?
Funny enough, I don't know, because
Oh, okay.
Yonden's pipeline doesn't spit out the actual end product. It just
Right.
puts it into memory and then deletes it. So I could only benchmark how fast it was happening. I couldn't actually benchmark the quality, but I didn't change any of the quality parameters. So I'm hoping that the quality came out the same, just 6 times slower by doing all these flags. I don't know if that will be the case. I don't know. I could try spit out the video afterwards and figure out if it's good quality or not. But what you guys have seen in the showcase channel, I think that's the default of what Yonden's script is doing. So if you want it higher quality than that, I think you're going to start running into serious hardware constraints.
Titan, are you working with a local copy of the AI worker? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. I might be able to help you get that saved down into a image file if you want.
That'd be nice. Just so that, like, if I run a benchmark and it's...
So you can actually see what it's doing.
Yeah, if it's 6 times slower, but the monkey comes out as a giraffe, it's like, okay, this is, it might be, it might be like obvious visual changes we're not willing to compromise on, right?
You might have a gremlin playing tricks on you in your system.
Yeah, because
I'll give that a look and try to give you some help on getting that saved. If you save it to memory, you should be able to save it to the disk. It's just got to change that bit of code.
yeah. Again, like, I'm sure I can, but I spent so many hours just trying to figure out where to put the sequential offloading flag that by the time I got that, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm just so tired. And Paperspace, which is run by DigitalOcean, they gave me a whole bunch of credits to use their H100s. So I think I'm out of credits. So I'd have to actually start paying for the H100 use. Not that you not that I need it, but it sure is faster and easier to do benchmarking.
Yep, those H100s are fast, super fast.
And even when downloading the model, like, it's like a 10 gigabit connection, so it, like, to just, if I forgot to download the model ahead of time, like, it downloads it in like 12 seconds rather than like my at-home Wi-Fi that's like, you've got to download 30 gigs of models. You're going to be here for a while. Yeah, this machine is like H100, 288 gigs of RAM, what is it, like a platinum CPU and like 10 gigabit connection. So it's pretty nice to mess around on that thing. So what I was trying to do is get that machine to be able to work on my laptop with a 4078 gig in it. And I could get it down to 4 gigs. It would work on my laptop, but I have no idea what the image, what the end product actually came out, like if it deteriorated. But I will say though, if you want to start increasing the quality, like if you want more frames per second, if you want more precision on your tokens, if you want like greater size of video, it really affects the amount of RAM you're using. And so to put that into perspective, like even with sequential offloading, like I don't think you're gonna get super high quality out of lower RAM GPUs. Like I'm still trying to figure out what are the trade-offs. And so like for instance, like the Sora examples that we see on OpenAI, like to get that you're gonna need, you know, an H100. Like I just don't think you're gonna get that on a consumer grade GPU, even if you let it spin and melt for half an hour. Like I'm not certain it's possible. But I said this last week that it wasn't possible to do on consumer grade GPUs at all, and now this week I'm saying you can. So I think if I just keep digging deeper, like it might work. But again, I'm getting actually just a little tired of it. So I'll have to circle back. As for Chase's questions around needs on the network, I hope that we can, as a community, collectively put at least one H100 on the network to be available to do super high quality stuff. Yeah.
Well, that was kind of part of my topic, that are we not going to try and offer a really high level, fast processing of videos for certain customers that are willing to pay for a high-end product? Is that not something we're going to try and offer, or are we just going to try and offer kind of slow, average quality AI image to video end products? What are we aiming at? Do we know?
I think it depends on whether the network can offer it. Right? Like
Yeah.
So right now, I think, from my understanding, I know there's people here with 4090s. I know Papa Bear and Pawn have one. Does anyone else have consumer grade stuff that's above a 4090? Or sorry, not consumer, commercial grade stuff above a 4090? There's one guy in my pool that's got an A5000. So it's got 40 gigs of RAM, I think. Other than that, I mean, that's the highest I've seen.
Just to jump in real quick, the hardware should not make a difference in the quality. I mean, it should really only affect the time it takes to output it. I mean, if you're putting the same model and workflow into the GPU, it should come out with the same quality every time. It's just a matter of how long it takes to process it. Whether some of the flags make a difference, that's another issue, but that's changing the workflow. But putting the same, project into a GPU that it has the the ability to process it. The GPU, the hardware itself, does not affect the quality.
Right. Okay. So as long as you're given the same quality, two GPUs with different, hardware will give you, as long as it can do the job.
Right. It's just going to affect the time, the speed.
Right.
But the hardware itself doesn't have any effect on the. Again, you're giving it the same job to do. It's going to do it. It's going to come out with the same quality. It's just it's a matter of just how much time it takes to do it. I mean, I saw no difference when I ran it on a 1070 versus a 3070 versus a 4090. It was just how long did it take to do it. I mean, the output was exactly the same, putting the same.
Did you look
same
at the
job into
output?
it. Yeah.
And it
This
looked
wasn't running the benchmark. This was just me like running with like comfy UI as a front end on it and just taking like the same exact model and just or same certain workflow and just running them on each one. Came out identical. I mean, at least visually, sure. I mean, it was identical.
Heterotic also mentioned, just linked this distributed inference. Oh, I didn't even see this before. Interesting. So I've been stuck. Okay, so yeah, the documentation on Hugging Face is like crazy. I've been stuck on the diffusers docs for like a week, just trying to figure out how that works. But I can see he just linked under accelerate. There's literally a section called distributed inference. And I guess this is sending. What is this doing? Sending the pipeline, sending the work to different GPUs to do different parts of the inference. Like it looks like almost. Interesting. So this is the problem. Is I'm not an expert in this stuff, so I'm just scratching the surface, going through docs and figuring things out. So I'm not a good example of what's possible on the network. I'm just telling you like what I've seen, and so yeah, like you can definitely decrease the RAM requirements under the diffusers docs. And then it looks like under accelerate, you can do distributed inference. So maybe that gets built into our workflow where each orchestrator gets a different piece of the inference. And so you could say we can parallel the stuff along, different tasks, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's what you would need to be able to get some breakthrough and speed to, break the work into multiple parts and have it come back faster.
Absolutely. I was just looking at specifically a paper a few weeks ago that splits it's using something called patch parallelism and effectively splits the image into regions. And this particular one is able to maintain almost the same quality as opposed to some previous attempts that, because the interaction at the edges of where it gets split up had, in their study, contributed to obviously degradation of the image. They're showing that they can actually have an asynchronous computation of these different chunks and coherently stitch them back together with the same kind of interactions that would have been if done locally or on one GPU and synchronously. So there's definitely a lot of progress in the wild in this specific space of diffusion models specifically, and being able to chunk them up in some way or another. I've looked at other ones that split them more into layers, but it gets a little more complicated. And I'm liking this kind of batch distribution idea. Trying to put a link in the chat. I'll be there in a sec.
So does that
It's
mean...
almost...
Go ahead, John.
It's sort of synonymous with how a video stream has different segments, and we can switch from orchestrator to orchestrator. If you think about AI job kind of being split into segments. Sorry, Titan.
No, that's interesting because just when I was in ETH Denver, I had a salesperson come up to me trying to sell me H100s, and they sell them in boxes of 8, and they're like 30,000 each. But then you need the motherboard to be able to handle it, and then you need the CPU to be able to handle that, and everything else that goes with it. And I was like, okay, to what degree do we need H100s on our network, right? Or is our distributed network of consumer grade GPUs capable of doing this work in a distributed way, right? So it's interesting if we could find ways to parallel the jobs and not having to rely on H100s. I know IO.net. I know their stuff. They have minimum requirements. They actually don't allow any cards under the 3090 and the 4090. So I wonder if we'll end up with that type of restriction, or whether we can do a better job of distributing work amongst lower grade GPUs.
Is there like a test net that's set up and going right now? I haven't really stayed in tune with the AI stuff because it's a bit new to me, but it sounds like a lot of folks are already running O's on a test net.
No, we're just running the benchmark.
Okay.
No, there's no testnet.
I do plan to run. They have an AI worker, and they do have a broadcaster that Yandon worked on that can send work to an orchestrator. I don't think payments are totally working yet, but there's definitely the shell of a solution coming together.
Heterotic says there are a lot of different ways to distribute the pipeline for ML, machine learning. I think that's what it means. The general subject is federated learning, art. I would think LP's network would be uniquely empowered to accomplish these kind of tasks. ETH Swarm chunks can be sent as feeds, but also as individual chunks. The chunk size in ETH Swarm are 4,000 kilobytes. There's like 1 to 2 frames at 10K. It also stores chunks with redundancy framework called erasure encoding to guarantee reconstructability of data, but it works nicely in video codecs where the difference between 2 chunks / frames may be small number of bits relative to the total file size. And then we are on Chapella for testnet. I think that's what he's referring to. Yeah, are you referring to the use case of storing LLM data or video on Swarm? Boy, this is intense stuff.
Yeah, I was just trying to get clarification there because a lot of that sounds familiar to me, but I've been working with video on Swarm. I've heard something about language models requiring storage.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's that's basically where we're at, is trying to figure out what GPUs can work on the network. We're still waiting on updates from Yondon on how he's doing with the AI worker and how the test orchestrator is going to handle the different inference jobs. Quan, for those that hopefully participated in the feedback for their app, I emailed back my feedback to them. Hopefully you guys did too. They reviewed it on Wednesday, I believe. So if you haven't sent your feedback, please do. But yeah, my feedback was like, just some app facing stuff. Like, would love to have more options rather than having to re-roll every time, different like text to image prompts start in the beginning, and ways to manage what the video actually does, like prompt the video a direction you want it to actually go rather than it just trying to guess. But I can't seem to find that in the docs anywhere, the ability to prompt a video on what you want it to do. I don't know how. It just tries to make the video do what you think it should do. Doesn't make any sense. Cool. Any last comments on the generative AI front? I think tomorrow is a community call update, so I'm hoping that we get some updates on this. So there's nothing new I can share other than I've been messing around with benchmarking and it's a bit of a mess. But once we figure it out, it looks like it'll be constant, so that's good. Cool. We'll move on to some more topics. Osman had a topic around the top 10 broadcaster work on the network and also AV1 codec. I don't think anyone here does know, but yeah, anyone know the top 10 broadcaster on the network, whether they're sending work yet? Or anyone seeing an increase of jobs? My jobs are pretty static. They haven't changed much.
Same. Mine are, I don't notice anything significantly different.
Yeah. Basically the same. Nothing has really changed.
I can talk on the AV1 codec though.
Yeah, go ahead with the AV1.
So the AV1 still in my court. FFmpeg C code is a special animal. But what's going to happen is working with Tom, we're going to update to the latest FFmpeg first without the AV1 just to get that updated. And then AV1 will be a fast follow after that. I've already worked through the plumbing and everything and how that goes all the way through. It's just to split it up so it's more manageable upgrade path.
Very cool. How is the upgrading of FFmpeg coming along?
It's going. I have it working. That's the good part. For a couple of weeks there, it was just spitting out errors and seg faults, memory errors at me, but now it's working. So I'm trying to package it up because to get this into Go Livepeer, there's like 3 things you have to do. You have to put the Livepeer specific updates in the FFmpeg in the Livepeer repo of FFmpeg. You have to update LPMS Livepeer media server, and then with Go Livepeer, you got to update the LPMS pinned version or commit, and also update the install FFmpeg script in Go Livepeer. And with all those things done and packaged together, you can actually use Go Livepeer with the updated FFmpeg. Probably about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way there. I'm in the packaging stage is what I call it in my head. I'm trying to kind of make a cut point and just say this is it. Let's see if I can get all the test actions to run on Livepeer media server and Go Livepeer, and then I will probably start testing it with my nodes, and then maybe a couple other you will volunteer as tribute to test on yours.
Very cool. Yeah, Chase has got a 4060 ready to do AV1. So as soon as you need some testing or want some help, send over the binary.
And with Eli getting so far on his, I might be able to work with him to kind of get an actual Livepeer Studio test bed up to see how that kind of goes through that process. Otherwise, we'll just do the testing in a more manual way.
We have Livepeer Cloud be more than willing to help you run some tests from our broadcasters. We've been spinning up infrastructure, so be more than willing to help out.
You got some with the newest 4000 series cards on there?
No,
that's the only thing that does AV1. But you can test the new FFmpeg though. Like so, there's a couple layers of tests here.
Okay. Well, anyway, we can help. I'd definitely be more than willing to chip in for you.
Yeah, you are more than welcome to try to break my machine again.
Again, I did. That was not a fun couple days for me.
What I was gonna ask, what is the status on the SPE, the cloud, the SPE for the cloud broadcaster? Do you guys have a product up yet, or whereabouts are you?
Well, we're still in alignment with our roadmap. We finished up the documentation for February and in March, and I was going to talk about this in tomorrow's quarterly call.
Oh yeah, you can save it for then.
No, I can give you a quick update. It's straightforward. I mean, we've already built some of the integration with Owncast, and we already started to spin up our broadcasters. You should see some tickets already getting paid out in the infrastructure or in the payout channels. We've been paying out tickets. I don't know how long, maybe a week or two, but we definitely have some stuff in place. We're doing a lot of testing right now, so you should see some work coming through at some point. But we're well on our way. We'll have an announcement. We have our website we put up, and we'll be talking about that more tomorrow. But I think we'll be at the end of March. We'll have more of the polished stuff finally getting out there for folks to start looking at.
Mike, you put up some repository, right? Was that for the updating of Go Livepeer to run a pool with accounting, or?
Yeah, the Go Livepeer, that's a different project. That's part of the grant node project with Video Miner.
Oh,
But
sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, believe me, even within our small circle here, we always mix them up too. Grant node. I mean, we got so many things going on, but yeah, we put the grant node orchestrator online now in transcoding. So we took the live pools code base that was built from 0532, and we moved it to the 07.1 release, and we updated all the software, the APIs, there's a whole bunch of UIs, home pages, different stuff that they built as part of LivePool, and we made it just like a generic pool software so that anyone can fork it, put up a site, put up an API server, put up the orchestrator, and get this transcoder stuff automatic. So that's all done. Work that was done. We shared the repos in the Livepeer chat, so folks can go in there and take a look at what we did. But yeah, man, we're doing big things.
Nice. Is that on the awesome Livepeer links?
No, I forgot about that. I did not update Awesome Livepeer. I'm definitely gonna go make some updates there. I did forget about that, but
no rush. I just want to be able to find it again in Discord.
Yeah, I know, that's true. I posted it in Discord. It'll be lost in the wave of information. So you're right. I will definitely update that. Thank you for reminding me.
Very good. Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's our updates on AV1, top 10 broadcaster on the network. Brad, you said something about AI subnet. Oh, is that what we already talked about?
Yeah, I think I was just curious as to where everybody's at on that, because I mean, what you were alluding to, we all have some build out to do with that. The hardware we have to transcode H.264 is not the same that we'll need for AI inference, but I'm still in the build out phase of that. Kind of waiting for things to shake out. I have two 4060 Ti's, which I think do a lot better on text image. They work on image to video, but 49ers are significantly faster on that. And I have a feeling most of us will end up with a mix of cards to serve the different purposes and keep budget in line. Or we can all just go all in and get the A6000 ADAs or L40Ss and go from there.
Chase had a good idea of putting forward a treasury vote to airdrop an H100 to all orchestrators. And that would instantly put us at like top tier, top level stuff, And there's enough money in there. I mean, you probably wouldn't get all 100 orchestrators to even sign up. You'd get them to, because most of them are inactive, right? But you get 20 of us to sign up. We do 20, 3 boxes of H100s. It'd be 28, 24 of them, and everyone just gets one shipped to their house, and boom, we're quite the network.
Don't transcode, correct?
H100s?
Yeah, I don't think they do. Or I might be losing my mind.
Like I said, you got a mix of cards. You got an AI card, and you got the transcode card.
Yeah, it has NA on all of them, all the support for encoding. Let's see about decoding on there. But like the other ones, the newest version of the data center cards, are not the H100s, the L series, the L40, L40S, and even the L4, all transcode. But these are all data center cards, so there's no fans on these L series. You got to put it in a jet hangar to keep it cool.
Yeah, buy a little. Just move to Canada. Just put them outside.
Just dunk them in the lakes up there, right?
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
Water cooled, man. Just throw them in the lake. Perfect. Okay. Last topic is around rumbling thunder. You had a topic around. So I didn't quite get it. It's orcs interact with content. I think I know what you mean, but you want to just maybe clarify your question?
Yeah, let me clarify. You forgive my ignorance, James. I'm the new guy, and I'm definitely not a developer, but I am a network engineer, and I'm, really in the process of understanding the nomenclature that you guys use and, the nuances of your network. So, I'm a part of the Livepeer studio, and I have video assets that are loaded on my profile. So, in the process of our team building out our app, I'm wanting to learn the Livepeer network from the user end of the Livepeer studio side. But specifically, I wanted to know how that interaction is between the assets that I upload and how the orchestrators use them.
Oh, that's a good question. So when somebody uploads an asset or uses your app essentially into Livepeer Studio, Livepeer Studio then takes that video, it sends it to us, the orchestrators, and we process it. We transcode it into varying bit rates, right? So that's the compute heavy part. That's what we supply with our GPUs. It gets sent back to Livepeer Studio, and then Livepeer Studio will host the video for you wherever people want to play the recording or playback. So that's kind of how it works.
Copy that. So the follow-up question is, then what are the implications of that as a video gains traction or AKA views? Like, I understand that from the inception of uploading the video, but let's say a month from now, the video gets 30 plays a day. Like, how does that work?
That's all handled by Livepeer Studio and how they have their what services they're using to distribute the video. So the Livepeer network, we don't distribute video. We don't touch that part.
Okay, so that means that there's no transcoding after that.
That's right. It
Copy
just gets transcoded once, and then I think Livepeer Studio by default uses AWS for delivering video. But I think you can also request to do it through like IPFS pinning or Arweave, and maybe Storage. So yeah. So but yeah, Livepeer Studio, Livepeer, they deal with all the storage and delivery.
Okay, copy that. Yeah, I was like I said, I'm mostly just looking at it from the analytics side. That's why I'm asking these questions, and how you guys, I guess, weigh the analytics, or if they're weighted at all, or if that has any importance, or
Yeah, the Livepeer Studio will definitely track all the analytics. But again, we only do the video transcoding part, which is a very specific part of the pipeline, right? So
that's a clear distinction too, though, is that Livepeer Studio is managed by Livepeer Incorporated, which is a for-profit company that manages and builds Studio as a product that they sell. So, but that's separate from the Livepeer protocol. The protocol is the permissionless network where transcoding happens. That's not Livepeer Studio. Livepeer Studio is a gateway to use that protocol.
Copy that. Thank you. So like I said, after the video is transcoded on your guys' end, as far as the orchestrator, like you have no more use for it. You don't see it anymore.
Nope, that's it. You get to send the video transcoding back, and then the gateway or the service provider like Livepeer Studio will store it for you and host it. Like you said, if you get a bunch of views and playbacks, that's coming from Livepeer Studio's network, not the Livepeer protocol.
Copy that. Okay, thank you. That was very insightful. That's what I figured. But it's definitely better explained by you guys, very more poignantly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right
other
on,
than
right.
that, other than that, you guys, I encourage you to look forward to the Greater app. We're building out our MVP now. Like I said, that's why I'm asking these questions. I do have a newsletter that is going to go out soon, but if anyone is interested now, I can send it to you. It's a better summarized explanation of the app's functionality and the benefit that it will serve to the Livepeer community and network.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Cool. All right. One last comment. Well, before we sign off here, I see Osman says, AV1 is so technically superior, it will just crush other encoding like H.264 or whatever. Just requires more compute power. And so the marginal cost-cutting difference will matter more. Is this all true? Marco says AV1 is a big improvement. H.265 would be as well, but it's a real pain in terms of licensing and patents. Hardware encoders still need some time to catch up, which is why it's a bit of a problem at the moment. These kind of codecs are designed to be tough to encode and easy to decode. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Tough to encode and easy to decode. There you go. All right. We've gone through all the topics, and we're coming up 10 minutes to the hour. So any last comments or questions before we sign off? Right on, right on. Well, thank you so much for coming, everyone. I do appreciate all your feedback on the developer's contract. If you could please, if you do support the movement and just want to see it go forward, I think it would just be a good optics for people in the community to see people on the forum post just supporting it in general. So if you do support the idea behind it and what's going on, please just make a small comment. Hey, this is great. So this way delegators that are probably not going to listen to this entire 2-hour call are probably not going to have the conversations and the context that we just had. So yeah, just please comment. It'd be great to hear everyone's feedback. So thank you so much for coming. We will see you next week. And yeah, thanks for being here to make Livepeer the world's open and decentralized video infrastructure. Cheers.